Good morning everyone and welcome to the session of today, YARA rules, faster than ever. Here is Jesus Toledano, Technical Solutions Engineer here at VirusTotal. Today we will talk about YARA rules, what they are and what are the challenges we might find using them. Then we will introduce you VTDIFF, our new threat hunting solution that will help you finding new threats in a faster, powerful, and a smart way. We are launching VTDIFF, a tool that will simplify YARA rules so everyone will be able to quickly create them and use them. So let's start. YARA was originally developed by Victor Alvarez of VirusTotal. The name is either an abbreviation of YARA, another recursive acronym, or yet another ridiculous acronym. YARA is a tool used to identify and classify malware samples. YARA identifies and classifies malware based on custom rules. A rule is a description based on textual or binary patterns. A rule's description can be broken down into three sections: meta, strings, and conditions. Together, these sections determine a rule logic. At a minimum, every rule must have a condition section. You may omit the meta of a string section if not needed. So, what are the challenges of YARA? First, expertise. The freedom of YARA might be one of its drawbacks. It requires some expertise before using them. Second, time. So you need time to be prepared before using YARA, and then you need to take more time to analyze all the files and binaries looking for the most specific or interesting string to use in your rules. Last but not least, computing. Even if it's okay investing the time analyzing 1 or 5 binaries, what happens when your dataset contains dozens of them? To help with all of these challenges, we have VTDIFF. VTDIFF allows you to provide a collection of hashes that you are interested in matching and a collection of hashes that you do not want to match at all, and it will generate common binary subsequences that are shared by your selection or as many files in your selection as possible. VTDIFF takes into account binary sequence prevalence across the entire VirusTotal dataset in order to make sure it doesn't suggest patterns that are shared by a huge number of files, such as those stub in portable executables. The program cannot be run in those modes. The idea of VTDIFF is easy. Sometimes it's a matter of seconds to detect the commonalities of two different files, like in this case. However, when you try to find the differences and commonalities of two files, usually it will require more time and dedication to do it. For example, those two files seem to be really the same one, but you need time to see that the one on the right is taller. Even if you look deeper, you will realize that you have two files that might be from the same family, in this case, a family from Gotham. Spending more time on the analysis, you will see that in the end, those two files are connected to each other. Both of them belong to the same team. When we do the exercise with pictures, it's more or less easy to get the differences and the commonalities. But when we extrapolate that to binaries and files, it will take much more time to get some insights from that. As a picture is worth 1,000 words, I will demonstrate you how easy and fast it is to create an advanced YARA rule from the scratch without even know what YARA stands for. Not sure if you heard about Maze ransomware. It's one of the latest ransomware attacks, and it's one of the worst. It appeared at the end of 2019, and one of the things that makes me scared from Maze ransomware is that It's 3 attacks in one: encrypts the machine, steals the data, spread itself among the company encrypting and stealing more data. The average amount of data leaked per infected company is 100 gigabytes, and in some cases it's up to 10 terabytes. Here we have an example of a Maze ransomware file. As you can see, it's already detected by most of the antivirus engines that we have. If you can navigate through the different tabs, you will see all the different details that we offer for customers. What you can do also is to understand what are the relationships of that file. Let's imagine that you are a security analyst or just one customer that unfortunately suffered this kind of attack. What you want to do is protecting your customers or your architecture of future attacks. You want to prevent instead of detect. So what can we do having only one IOC? We can easily pivot from here using different tools that we have to offer you different files that might be related to the same attack. For example, in this demo, we will use this button, similarity one. We will look for similar files to this one. So instead of only one IOC, instead of only one hash, we will get up to 10 different hashes that most of them are related. And as you can see nowadays, all of them are detected by the majority of the antivirus vendors. So what can we do from here? This is only detection. Again, we want to prevent future malware attacks. So let's start creating a VTDIFF session. How can you create one new VTDIFF session? Easily. Just select the files that you want to include in that VTDIFF session. Then go here to VTDIFF session, click on the button, and we will open a new tab with the different hashes that we selected in the previous window. In the right side, we have another panel for excluding. In the future, we will use this panel to add those files that we don't want to include in this search. So let's create this session. The average time that the engine will take to offer you all the patterns that are common to those files, in this case 10 different files, is 45 seconds. So can you imagine doing that from a human perspective? That will be much more time. We are talking about hours. So instead of spending your day analyzing those 10 files, we are offering you the possibility to detect the common patterns of those files in only 45 seconds. So in 45 seconds, in this case, we got up to 55 patterns. Those patterns are common to all the files that we selected in the original file, in the original window. So maybe not everything is related. Maybe not. We don't want all of them to include in our YARA rule. What can we do from here? We need to understand the differences between the different patterns that we have. So the order that we have here is from the most specific one to the less specific. So from the most interesting one to including one YARA rule to the less one. So instead of including 55 strings or 55 binary patterns, we can just try with 3 or 5 different patterns. So for example, if I select this one and I go here to search, to do a VT GREP search, we are gonna do a search based on the content, based on this information. We will get all the files that contain the same pattern. Let's take a look. So as you can see, this kind of search, it will be almost impossible for a human side perspective. Of course, we can take all the binary data in one binary file and search for that, but it doesn't make sense. So we need to search for the interesting strings that might be related to malware attacks. So in this case, as you can see, we get more than 19 files. Some of them are detected for different antivirus engines, but other ones, like this one, for example, is not detected by all of them. So this string, I think it makes sense to include in the future YARA rule. What can we do to obtain better results? So let's select more patterns here, and let's go to I'm feeling lucky. Here, what we are going to do is just doing, again, a VT GREP search based on the content, but in this time, instead of selecting only one pattern, we are going to include the 5 of them. So in this way, we will be able to see in case we have different benign files that we don't want to include in the original session. Again, more than 19 files. As you can see, another one only detected by one antivirus engine. And again, this is important to understand. It's not about comparing antivirus engines. It's about having the latest cybersecurity intelligence. So in this way, we will be more prepared. We cannot avoid having one antivirus engine, but we need to improve all our architecture in order to be prepared for the future attacks. So I think now we have accurate information based on those different patterns that we selected. Let's move to the next stage. Now we can go here to hunting button and create one Livehunt that will alert us on every new future file that match those patterns that we have selected, or instead of that, we can create one Retrohunt job. This is good to have at least an overview about how well is our rule. So let's start with the past. In order to prevent future attacks, you need to understand the past. Here you have the YARA rule, the automatic YARA rule that VTDIFF can offer us. By default, the condition is all of them. What we can do from here is, instead of creating this new job with all the data set that we have, let's start with a good word data set. In this way, we can detect legit files that match with those five patterns, and we want to avoid that. We want to avoid false positive. So let's create the job. Here it will take some minutes to create that job. Let's wait a bit. In case we detected here some matches, we will have to take a look on about what are those files. So again, we want to avoid false positives. So here, if we have done one YARA rule to detect malware and we have one match, we need to avoid that. The good results has to be this one. 0 matches for one YARA rule with goodware. I think we are in the good way for our YARA rule, and finished. Our job just finished, so I think we are prepared to do one Retrohunt job to detect all those files that match those 5 patterns that we selected. So we can copy this YARA rule that we have created before, create new Retrohunt job with the same information, and instead of executing this job against goodware, we are going to execute this rule against the whole data set of VirusTotal. Of course, this will require more time to execute it because we will need to analyze more files. As you can see, we are already matching some results. So instead of one IOC that we got at the beginning, we are having up to 44 different files. And as you can see, most of them seem to be really malicious. So what we can do also is from the VTDIFF session that we executed 7 minutes ago, we can create one Livehunt in the next stage. So again, let's select the 5 first patterns that we got, 3 and 5. And now we are ready to execute one Livehunt. In this way, we will get again one YARA rule, but instead of executing this YARA rule against the past, we will execute this YARA rule with the future. Every new future file that is uploaded to VirusTotal and match this rule, you will be notified. We need to put a name. One notified email. So we are ready to enable this alert. So every new feature file that matches those strings, I will be notified. So I will be able to add those IOCs inside my architecture, so I will be able to prevent it. Let's go back to the presentation. So some best practices that we offer you talking about VTDIFF. Use one hash per line. As you can see, what I did in automatic way was adding those hashes in my session, but instead of that, I can create one new session. So imagine that I got these files, I got these hashes, so I can create a new VTDIFF session with the information. I should put one hash per line. Second, add at least 3 files. So from a requirement, you only need 2 files, but if you want to add more accurate information, if you want to get more accurate information for your YARA rule, we recommend you to add at least 3 files. How can we add 3 files if we only got one IOC? Well, we have demonstrated you how to pivot, for example, using similarity button. You can also pivot using the main icon. You can also pivot using different tools that we have. So it's pretty fast just clicking on those buttons and getting more intelligence, more different files that we can use for a VTDIFF session. So compare always same file types. Don't compare Word files with Excel files. It doesn't make sense. Compare peers with peers, apples with apples. Optimize the rules, repeat and exclude. So now that I have here my Retrohunt job, in case some of those files were legit, I should go back to my VTDIFF session and execute it again, but this time adding, for example, the legit file that I want to avoid to be detected to those exclusion lists. In this part, we can add the exclusion hashes that we want to avoid to be detected by our YARA rule. So we need to optimize our rule. Provide a description to the job. As you can see, not all of them are understandable. So if I see this name, I might understand why I executed this task. But if I see this name, I really don't understand why I executed this. What's the reason of that? How can we provide one description to the job? When we are creating the VTDIFF session, in this part, we can add here, for example, the name of the malware that we are looking for, or we just a generic malware like phishing or ransomware or whatever. Last but not least, try using different conditions. What do I mean by this? So by default, as I told you, the YARA rule that we are creating, that we are offering you, is matching all of them. What we can do from here is, okay, instead of matching all of them, I want to create one Retrohunt job matching any of them, or matching only two, for example, two of those. So in this way, we will detect every file that contains at least two of those strings. The results that we have here is from one simple file that we use, from one simple file that our company got and we got infected, out2.x, we got up to 10 similar files and more than 30 different patterns that were common to those 10 files. What are the results based on our Retrohunt jobs that we did before the demo? So based on the number of patterns, we can understand if the information we got is more or less accurate. For example, if I make a YARA rule based on any of those patterns, it will probably detect some legit files like here, 10,000 files, probably some of them are legit. But if I modify the conditions to detect every file that contains at least two of those 55 patterns that we got, we can increase our intelligence, our cyber intelligence, up to 1,000 files. From one simple hash, from one simple file, we now have more than 1,000 files. So why VTDIFF? The purpose of this is, again, being proactive, having prevention. VirusTotal is a really good forensic tool, but we need to focus on prevent the future malwares. We can integrate this information that VTDIFF will help us to have in our current cybersecurity architecture in order to prevent future attacks. How can you try it? You do not need to do anything. The service is already available for you. To summarize, today we have seen VTDIFF, a tool to automatically create YARA rules really easy. VTDIFF is fast, get all the different patterns that match in a matter of seconds. VTDIFF is powerful. You can scan up to 120 files at the same time and it will take only 50 seconds. Last but not least, VTDIFF is smart. Not only works with exe files, you can use it to compare all kind of files and all different hashes. So this is all for today and thank you very much for your time. I hope you really enjoyed the session and if you have any question, please feel free to contact us. We will be glad to help you. Thank you.